Good morning, students and parents. Hope you're doing well. This week we were still looking at area and perimeter. We're using more abstract ideas, not concrete. This is going to be a more abstract way of looking at perimeter. From here on out, all our area models and perimeters will be abstract as far as how we represent them. They're not going to be the actual size. They're going to be a size that represents a certain area and a certain perimeter. This is Mathematics Perimeter M2, that's Math, second week, .3. This is the third video. This is the last video for area and perimeter. We started out using areas that were concrete, and we've changed our thinking to more abstract. I hope you still have an example of this representation of a room. We're going to call this a room. That's 3 feet by 4 feet. This is not actually 3 feet or 4 feet. A foot is 12 inches, and I think I can get this in the video. So this is 1 foot, and this obviously, our room on the paper is much smaller than what we're actually writing down. That's called abstract. So we're using our heads and math to determine how many square feet of tile we need to cover a room that's 3 feet by 4 feet. We also had a representation of a tile, which I can't fit into the video because it's too large. And we determined that we would need 12 square feet of tile, and each tile comes in 1 square foot. So we would need to purchase 12 of these tiles to cover a room that's 3 feet by 4 feet. From here on out, we're going to be using our imagination abstractly to determine mathematically how perimeter and area work and how we can calculate that, even something that's larger than what we have on the piece of paper, how we can calculate the area and the perimeter just using math without having it being the actual size. So if you don't have this in front of you, go ahead and get this in front of you. Pause the video from the last lesson. And we're going to go over perimeter. So just a little review. For area, we use multiplication. Okay. So we took 3 times 4. We took one side times the other side. And we got how many squares there were going to be inside this rectangle. If you remember, a perimeter is going from just on the outside and just following the outline along the outside of the shape. We don't work with the center at all. So, and we can pick any corner as long as we come back to that corner. So I'm going to pick this corner. I'm going to go this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction. And I'm going to stop at this edge right here. For this 0, we started right here on this edge going that way. For the last side, we stop on here. So we aren't stopping exactly at the same point. This 0 starts at this length from here, and when we come around the 4th side, we measure it here. So we already know that this side that we started from is 4 feet. What operation do we use for perimeter? If you said addition, you're correct. So let's calculate the perimeter of our imaginary room here. This perimeter, this length of this side, we already measured. This is 4 feet. And for this example, I'm just going to write in feet. And remember, it's a number line. So remember us doing addition for number lines? We're going to do the same thing with the perimeter. We're going to take 4 feet, and we're going to add this next side, 3 feet. Then we're going to go along this side. That's going to be another 4 feet. Up. And then we're going to add this last side, which is another 3 feet. And that's going to give us our, what do we say when we do addition? What do we call the outcome of that? When we add numbers together, what do we call that in math terms? We call that the sum. Our sum is going to be in feet. Now, here you notice we had 12 squares because we were counting the squares inside. This is not squares anymore. This is lengths on a number line. And I'm going to give you some of the measurements of length right after this video that you'll see on your homework and your test. So let's just abbreviate this a little bit. Well, let's go ahead and add these together using the caret, and then I'll abbreviate a little bit later. This is, oh, that's not 12. I just multiplied those together. 3 plus 4 is 7. And I know from practice that since this is 7, this has to be 7. So the addition the second time you do it is easy. And I know that 7 plus 7 is 14 because I know my doubles. This is why you practice doubles in your previous grades. So 14 is the answer. So the perimeter along this 4 by 7 foot room is 14 feet. So here I have my sum, here I have my product. And we did it abstractly. We didn't have a real room that we measured. We made a pretend room, so to speak, and we still used math to come up with the answer. Let me show you some of the measurements we're going to be using for measuring length in 4th grade. Here are some of the measurements we're going to be using in 4th grade. So this side over here is called the metric system. And we aren't going to get into it just now. We're going to have a whole lesson on measurement. But there's 2 systems. And the world agrees on both these systems. Here's centimeter here, and this is the distance that we had on the top of our ruler. And these measurements are called metric measurements. We have millimeter, centimeter, and meter. Those are the 3 we're going to use for 4th grade. The standard size of the ruler is on this side, inches. And we're going to use inches and foot. We did that for, or feet, depending on if there's more than one. We're going to use a yard, which is a little confusing. You aren't going to see it a lot because we don't measure a lot of things in yards, but a few things we measured in yards. And miles, like we said earlier, that's on your dashboard of the car in front of the driver. It's called the odometer, and it's a little device that measures how many miles you've driven. So these are the 2 different measurements we're going to use for length that you're going to see in your abstract models for determining area and perimeter. So this is going to be your homework for week 2, and this is exactly what your test is going to look like. You have to get 5 out of 6 correct answers on your test. This is going to be week 2, but this is going to be homework, so this is just going to be practice. And we're looking at area and perimeter abstractly from here on out. We aren't going to use actual sizes. We're going to use our imagination to imagine what the size might be, and we're just going to use math to figure out the correct answers for area and perimeter. So here's a shape. There's going to be 6 of them. There's 3 on one side, A, B, C, D, E, and F on the back side. Finish this homework and have it turned in next week or at the end of the week. So here we have our area. Let's just take some of the measurements that we looked at. Let's take centimeters. Let's say this is going to be 4 centimeters on this side, and this is longer than that. Let's say this is going to be 7 centimeters on this side. How can we calculate what the area is going to be and what the perimeter is going to be of this model? If you want to go ahead and try that on your own, go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to go ahead and work this out. And when you get the homework assignment, this example will be on it. And you can work out the rest of the rectangles, and there is one square on there. the rest of the rectangles and come up with the area and perimeters on your own. So if you want to pause the video, go ahead and do that now. So for the area, I know what operation I have to use. What operation would that be? If you said multiplication, you're correct. And my answer, what do we call it when we solve multiplication? What is this called over here? These two are called factors. This one is called the product. So I'm kind of just setting up for my area here. And what are we counting in the area here? This is really important. We're counting squares in the area. And our measurement is centimeters. So there are going to be square centimeters in this area when we're done. In our imagination, we aren't going to actually draw them out just yet. So I've already set the problem up for area. Now I'm going to set a problem up for perimeter. It's going to take a little bit more space, so I'm going to use this space down here. What operation do we use for perimeter? If you remember, the perimeter is the outline of the shape that we're looking at. I'm going to start in this direction. And since this is like a number line going all the way around, and I'm going to end my number line here, I have 4 sides that I have to add together to come up with my answer. And my answer for addition is called what? If you said the sum, you're correct. Now, since this is a number line, we aren't determining how many squares. We don't determine how many squares are on a number line. That would be ridiculous. So, but it's a number line that's measured in centimeters. And if you remember, here's an actual measurement of centimeters. And you can see this as a number line. We just took this number line and changed the angle of it so it would go around the perimeter of our rectangle here. So if I start here, my first number is 4, and I'm going to put my measurement centimeters. And then this side is equal to this side, so this is going to be 7 centimeters. And then it's going to be the same pattern. You don't even have to think about this part because you've already determined half of it. Now, for my perimeter, what two values go in here for my factors? If you said 4 centimeters, I always like to start with my smallest one. And over here you said 7 centimeters, you're correct. So now I'm all set up to find my answers here. This is the part you should probably do first. I like to set my equations up first before I find the product and the sums. You might want to just go ahead and do this and find the product, and then do this and find the sum. However you want to do it, whatever order is fine. So I know my multiplication. I know 4 times 7 is what? If you said 28, you're correct. So there would be 28 square centimeters inside this area. So I'm going to go ahead and put my answer in here. Square centimeters. Now here I'm going to use my little caret and add 4 plus 7. This is going to be 11. I'm not going to put centimeters down here anymore. I know my answer is going to be in centimeters. I'm going to shortcut it a little bit. Here's my doubles to multiply or to add together. 11 plus 11, that's very easy, 22. And over here I forgot something, didn't I? Now I'm not measuring squares like I'm in the center. I'm just measuring along a number line. So my length is just going to be in centimeters. So my perimeter is going to be 22 centimeters. Now this is kind of a lot to remember, and you're going to forget certain elements of this. On the test, this is what it has to look like. I'll excuse some things like identifying the product and the sum, but you have to come up with the correct amount for the area, and you have to come up with the correct amount for the perimeter. Both the distance and the number and the measurement that we happen to be using. So you'll see this on your homework. There are 5 more problems to do. Good luck, and turn that in. Don't keep it at home. Keep it in a safe place and make sure it comes back to the school.